Hello everyone, this is Mila. Today, reading Chapter 7, Cardiomyopathy, New Hope for Cure. Wayne is a lifetime friend. We grew up together in a small town along the Missouri River in the South Dakota. His father was my baseball coach. All the way through high school, even though Wayne is younger than me, we always seemed to be competing neck and neck in sport. In fact, when I was a senior, I set a local high school track record in half mile. Wayne broke it 2 years later. Wayne and I went on to attend the University of South Dakota, where we ran together on the USD track team. Follow our years at university, Wayne continued his athletic pursuits, was an aggressive cyclist, and still run on occasion. I admire his continued drive to stay in the peak physical condition. Knowing his athleticism, then I was quite concerned with my friend walked into my office one midsummer day. Wayne's color was poor. He complained that his heart felt like it was going to jump right out of his chest. My former competitors looked tired and washed out. He informed me that he had come down with cerebral fluid about 3 months earlier, just never seems to get over. It seems that anything he did completely wore him out. He was the manager of a restaurant and didn't know how he could continue working. It was that taxing to his body. As I examined my friends, I noticed right away that his heart was indeed beating rapidly and irregularly. Wayne's heart sounds like a washing machine. It was clear, but he was in serious trouble, and I informed him that he needed to be admitted to the hospital. We went directly to the hospital, where one of our local cardiologists examined him. An X-ray revealed that Wayne's heart was significantly enlarged. So the doctor immediately ordered an echocardiogram, a sound wave study of the heart. The results were shocking. Wayne's ejection fraction, a measure of how long the heart is beating, was only 17%. A normal ejection fraction is between 50 to 70%. When an ejection fraction drops below 30%, the patient is possibly candidate for heart transplant. Wayne's heart was huge, filled with blood clot, and in atrial fibrillation. Beating irregularly, his situation was critical. The cardiologist then performed a cardiac catheterization, in which he injected a special dye into Wayne's heart and coronary arteries. His artery was fine, but his heart has definitely suffering trauma. The next test, a biopsy of the heart muscle, shows a result of suffering a viral infection of the heart. Wayne just had developed cardiomyopathy, extremely weakness of the heart muscle. The infection had most likely occurred in the spring when Wayne's contracted with he believed was the fluid. He actually contracted a viral myocarditis, which caused severe damage to his heart. The cardiologist prescribed a blood thinner, Coumadin, and placed Wayne on several other medications in an attempt to strengthen his heart. He was then able to leave the hospital, so he was very sick and could hardly move. Follow-up study of Wayne's heart a few weeks later shows that his ejection fraction had improved to 23%. The cardiologist wasn't very optimistic, through and felt that this was probably the most Wayne's health could ever improve. His heart was still filled with blood clot, and he still was in the arterial fibrillation. The other option cardiologists had to offer was the possibility of sending Wayne's to Abbott Northwest in Minneapolis, where he could put a heart transplant list. You can imagine how difficult it was for me to discuss this with my patient, my friend. I also had to inform Wayne's parents, two people I had grown to love and admire, that their son's life was seriously jeopardized. To make better, more pain still, they had recently lost a young son to lung cancer. It seems like I was a messenger of hopeless. Wayne wanted to hold off going to Minneapolis and instead work with me local cardiologists visiting me on a regular basis. We placed him on a patent antioxidant mineral supplement while he continued his other medication. His blood clots finally cleared, and the cardiologist was able to continue Wayne's heart rhythm back to normal with electric shock therapy. About the same time, my wife Liz and I fly into Great Northwest when she showed me an article she was reading about a study on natural nutrition, coenzyme Q10. Liz handed me the article written by Dr. Peter Langone, a cardiologist and biochemist practicing in Taylor, Texas. Dr. Langone had been able to significantly improve the health of his cardiomyopathy patient by simply adding nutrition of supplement called coenzyme Q10 to their daily medication. As soon as I returned home, I thoroughly researched the medical literature about the use of Q10 and decided that it was safe to try with my friends. What did Wayne have to lose? I asked him into my office the next day and started him on a dosage of Q10 similar to what Dr. Langone had been recommended. Because Wayne was being so close monitored by his cardiologist, I did not see him for 3 or 4 months, and when he did return to my office, he came to discuss the possibility of applying for total disability income. My hope sank, totally disappointed. Wayne explained that because he had not worked for the past 8 months, his friends and business acquaintances had strongly urging him to consider going on disabilities. When I asked how he was doing, however, he told me that he was feeling fine and was actually able to ride his bike an average of 5 miles a day. He was able to run a little. Grimly, I told Wayne that I would have differently recommending for him disability when his activity level had to dramatically improve. I suggest that we get another echocardiogram to see how his heart was doing. He agreed. I was astonished when I got the results. Wayne's ejection fraction was back into a normal range at 51%. The only explanation of his miracle improvement was a lot of prayer and nutrition Q10. The next week, I ran into Wayne's cardiologist in the doctor's lounge, and I happily shared what had happening with our patient. With the cardiologist didn't reflect my enthusiasm. He simply did not believe me. In fact, the doctor to insist that Wayne's echocardiogram be repeated on his machine. Wayne was called to his cardiologist's office, but I didn't hear anything on the results for several weeks. When a little finally did come, I learned that Wayne's ejection fraction on a cardiologist's machine was 58%. Yes, This is even better, I thought. A week after I received the letter, I was scribbling a snack in the doctor's lungs. When the cardiologist approached me, our intention was a bit different than this time. Amazing at Wayne's improvement, the doctor was anxious to see some of the research study on quinzantin. I told him I would send a copy of the study right over. Ray, he said, you reminds me of a doctor I used to listen to on the radio during my commute into work. He would talk about all this medical study in nutrition and supplements. I was sure he was off his rocker, slamming his topic because one of our favorite pastime at the hospital, man. We shred him good. The cardiologist continued. The most critical doctor was Jim. In the doctor lounge, he would trash his radio guy up on the side and down to the next. To continue over the next few months until one day Jim's partner confronts him. Jim, if you feel this strongly about the subject, why do you take nutritional supplements? Well, Jim replied, just in case I'm wrong. Wayne did not go on disability, is back to work full-time. His first visit to my office occurred more than 4 years ago. My friend is now able to do all he wants to physical, and his following echocardiogram continue to show his ejection fraction is normal. Let me assume you through this. Wayne's heart was not being cured. He still has cardiomyopathy, but with the addition of nutrients of Q10, Wayne's heart has its need fuel source, which now allow his heart to compensate for its weakened state. Disease of heart muscle. The heart is not a complicated organ. It primarily a muscle whose main job to pump blood through the body. In the past couple of chapters, we concentrate on the coronary artery that supply blood to the heart. This chapter will now focus on the muscle of heart itself. Congestive heart failure and cardiomyopathy are disease of the heart muscles. A electrical system triggers his muscle to beat in a coordinary effectiveness manner. The heart's valve then open and close, allow the blood to flow efficiently through the 4 chambers. As the primary muscle with the responsibility of pursuing life-giving blood to every organ in the body, the heart must continue beating constantly at all times, therefore has remarkable high energy requirement. Congestive heart failure and myopathy have numerous causes: hypertension, repeat several heart attack, virus infection, and infiltrative heart disease like lupus scleroderma, to name a few, in case the disease weakens the strength of the heart muscle so that it's unable to handle the amount of blood it receives from the body. The heart tries to compensate for its weakened state by dilating the beating faster, but blood eventually back up into lung filled with some fluid. This is called congenital heart failure. The patient essentially begins to drown in his or her own fluids. Sometimes failure occurs primarily on the right side of the heart, which means the liver becomes congested and the patient's legs begin to swollen. When one's heart becomes severely weakened and delayed, as in Wayne's case, physicians call this cardiomyopathy. Cardiomyopathy is a very severe case of congestive heart failure. An uncommonly large delayed heart is the hallmark. What is coenzyme Q10? Coenzyme Q10 or DOESN is a fat-soluble vitamins. A vitamin-like substance that is also patented antioxidant. Trace amounts of Q10 exist in varieties of food such as organ meats, beef, soy oil, sardine, mercury, and peanut. The body also has the ability to make Q10 from the amino triazome, but this is a complicated process that requires at least a vitamin, several trace minerals to complete. A deficiency in any of these nutrients can hinder the body's nutrient production of Q10. Coenzyme as a group of cofactors is essential for a large number of enzyme reactions with the body. Q10 is the cofactor for at least 3 very important enzymes that are within the mitochondria of the cell. Remember, the mitochondria are essentially the battery or funnel of the cell, where the energy of the cell produced. Mitochondria enzymes are needed for the production of high-energy phosphate and enzyme triglyceride, upon which all cellular function depended. You will recall the mitochondria where the oxidative process occurred. Not only does energy start here, but the dangerous byproducts, free radicals, are also created. As a strong antioxidant, Q10 is extremely important in helping neutralize free radical. However, its most important function in this situation to help create energy. Q10, which helps fuel human mitochondria, was the first isolated from a beef heart mitochondria by Dr. Frederick Ken in 1957. In 1958, Dr. Carl Fokker and co-worker at Merck Inc. determined the exactly chemical structure of Q10 and began synthesis. The Japanese then preferred the technology in the mid-70s, are now able to produce large amounts of pure Q10. Q10's deficient in heart failure. Not only have numerous investigators published the normal blood level of Q10, they have identified what seems to be direct correlation between the severity of heart failure and the correlating depletion of Q10. Significant decreased amounts of Q10 have been noted in periodontal disease, cancer, heart disease, diabetics. Deficient level of Q10 have been most clearly published. However, in the blood level of patients with congestive heart failure and cardiomyopathy, Q10 deficiency can be the result of several conditions: a poor diet, impair of body ability to synthesize Q10, and the body excessive of utilization of Q10. Investigators in the earlier 1980s began trials in which patients took Q10 supplements. Over the past 20 years, interest has continued to mount. Numerous clinical studies have tested the result of Q10 in cardiomyopathy and congestive heart failure patients. No fewer than 9 placebo-controlled clinical trials have taken place around the world. 8 international symposia has been held on the biochemical and clinical aspect of Q10, in which physicians and scientists from 18 different countries present more than 300 papers. The largest of this international study was the Italian Moto Center trial by Begil and Association, which involved 2,664 patients with heart failure. In this particular study, near 80% of the patients improved when they start taking Q10, and 54% of these patients had majority improved in the three major symptom of categories. Put simply, study and real life example shows that Q10 is an enormous helpful supplement in treating patients with life threats of heart condition. While it doesn't cure them, it certainly hinders the process of the disease. Treating patients with cardiomyopathy. Have you ever wondered what a heart transplant costs? What was your guess? $250,000? Were you aware that more than 20,000 patients under the age of 65 are on the heart transplant list? Thousands more patients over 65 have also cardiomyopathy, but they are not even eligible to be placed on a heart transplant list because their age, although they may receive maximum medical treatment. Most will remain totally disabled. Only 1 in 10 patients who are eligible for heart transplant will actually receive one. The other 9 usually end up dying from their disease very soon. The numbers don't include the hundreds of thousands of patients who are suffering from aggressive heart failure. Dr. Folkers and Long Jones report a study in medical literature in 1992 that I believe brings this dilemma to an obvious conclusion. They placed 11 exemplary transplant candidates on Q10. 3 of the patients moved from the worst classification class IV to the best classification class I under the New York Heart Association Guide C box. 4 patients improved from Classic 3 to 4 to Classic 2, and 2 others improved from Classic 3 to 1. The New York Heart Association classified for functional capacity. Class 1, no limitation. Ordinary physical activity does not cause due to fatigue, shortness of breath, and heart palpitation. Class 2, slightly limitation of physical activity. Such patients are comfortable at rest, and ordinary physical activity result in fatigue, heart palpitation, shortness of breath, and angina. Classic 3, marked limitation of physical activity. Although patients are comfortable at rest, less than ordinary activity will lead to simply notes above. Classic 4, unable to carry on a physical activity without a discomfort, simply of congestive heart failure, are present at risk. With any physical activity, increased discomfort and simply will occur. Against the backdrop of substantial clinical trial already reported in the medical literature, Folkers and Long Jones shows undeniable proof of efficiency and safety of use of Q10 in patients with end-stage heart failure were awaiting transplantation. Here is the primary example of natural vitamin antioxidant showing several clinical trials to be effective and safe. This is a nutritional medicine that is cure or core. When the heart muscle is weakened, for whatever reason, it places an increased demand on nutrients the heart cells need in order to create energy. Because of exclusive utilization of these nutrients, the heart muscle eventually become depleted of Q10, which is the most important nutrient needed to create energy. When patients take these nutrients as a supplement, the weakened heart muscle is able to replenish in stored Q10, generally more energy compensate for weak state. Doctors should use Q10 in support of traditional medical treatment. not in place of it. This is complementary medicine, not alternative medicines. Although this study, many patients improved, such as they were able to stop taking several of their medication, they were not cured of their underlying heart disease. It is important to know patients should continue taking supplemental Q10 over the long time. Clinical studies report that when patients discontinue using supplementation Q10, the need of fuel source become depleted and against heart function slowly decrease back of previously poor level. On the other hand, Dr. Lan Jian report after 6 years follow-up study of patients that those who maintain their supplemental dosage maintain their heart function improvement. Why don't physicians recommend Q10? Here we have a life-threatening disease for which traditional medical therapy offer little hope of improvement. The cost of taking Q10 in supplementation in about $1 a day, not considered reduce the cost of hospitalization. This is substantially less than 250,000 heart transplant for which costs of these patients are waiting. The use of Q10 has never shown any side effect or problem. In fact, most of studies show mid-mark improvement with 4 months. So why don't physicians recommend a trial of Q10 to their cardiomyopathy patient? What the doctor doesn't know may be killing you. I never had heard a discussion of the use of Q10 at any medical meeting or with any my cardiology other than my interaction with Wayne's physician. And I've never heard the cardiologist place any of my patients with congestive heart failure or cardiomyopathy on Q10. After reviewing this study, I'm too amazed at the unwilling of medical profession to offer this option to their patients. Only 1% of cardiologists in the U.S. recommend Q10 to their patients with heart failure and cardiomyopathy. It is not as if they have good alternative therapy in mind. The National Institute of Health has found most of the study involve Q10 in the U.S., but unlikely the plethora of scenic drugs. Q10 is a natural product, as such as cannot be patented through the FDA. Pharmaceutical companies are not going to spend $350 million need to get natural products like Q10 approved through FDA if there are no economic incentive. It is also very costly for a company to promote the use of medication to physicians. It is just not going to happen. I will tell you why physicians don't recommend Q10. Physicians are pharmaceutical trained. We know drugs, but we don't know much about natural products. As much as we hate to admit it, pharmaceutical sales representatives who come to our office daily control much of what we learn in regarding new treatments. And I have yet seen pharmaceutical sales representatives show me a study on Q10 effective cardiomyopathy, and simply is money into it. Emma's story. Emma is a delightful patient of mine in her early 18s. About 4 years ago, her cardiologist diagnosed her heart with cardiomyopathy. An ejection fraction of 20% severity limits Emma's life. Her cardiologist prescribed several medications including Cardiomyopathy, which she took to control her irregular heart rhythm. However, the medicine made her very sick, and she was soon unable to eat. Not only did she lose a lot of weight, but the medication also destroyed her thyroid gland. Thyroid medication was started, but needless to say, Emma remained very ill. Her cardiologist did not give her much hope, and because of her age, she was definitely not a candidate for a heart transplant. The traditional treatments Emma received only made her much worse. In desperation, she came to see me because she heard about how I was able to help others with similar problems. After evaluating my new patient, I could see she has significant reaction to the Cardom. She wanted to quit taking the drugs, and I agree with her. I personally feel if she stayed on this medication, she would live only another month or two. After erasing her off Cardom, I started my new patient on 300 mg of Q10. To Emma's delight, her appetite and strength improved her shortness of breath a bit. Her activity level soon returned to normal. 4 months later, her cardiologist repeated an echocardiogram and was pleased to see her ejection fraction had improved 42%. Emma has become more concentrated about her arthritis than her heart. In fact, she was able to have her left knee totally replaced. Not bad for a lady who not expecting even to live. It was been 4 years since Emma received her cardiomyopathy diagnosis, and she continued to live a happy, healthy life. Physicians must become their patients' advocate. We need to learn, understand how natural products can help our patient. A basic principle here I cannot emphasize too much. When we support the natural fraction of the body and try to elevate this ability to perform at an optimal level, then, only then, we done everything possible to promote healing. Taking supplement to accommodate this function is best prescribed or described as complementary medicine. Patients with cardiomyopathy should continue taking their medication by adding a complete balanced antioxidant mineral tablet among higher dosage of Q10. 300 to 500 mg was supporting the neutral function of failure hearts, and patient was improved significantly. Thank you so much.